Experts say the U.S. is becoming increasingly isolationist. The Trump administration pausing shipments of U.S. military aid to Ukraine in the war against Russia.
And joining us to talk about the status of a potential ceasefire, Professor Yoshiko Herrera. Thanks for being on with us.
Hi, Yoshiko, good to see you. Thanks for coming out in the blizzard.
You made it. Well, the last few weeks have been tumultuous between Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky and President Trump. What is your reaction to how things have shifted?
Well, there's been a lot of ups and downs. Every week I sort of think, oh no, and then a few days later it gets a little bit better. And I think last Friday's blow up in the Oval Office was definitely worrying for Ukraine because it looked like it was going to precipitate a big change in U.S. policy. And then that did occur with the U.S. decision to pause military aid, and actually this morning's news about pausing intelligence assistance as well. But on the other hand, President Trump yesterday in the State of the Union didn't criticize Ukraine, and in fact mentioned a letter from Zelensky, which sounds like a sort of cooling off of tensions. And so it's possible that there could be a sort of improvement in U.S.-Ukrainian relations.
Can you give us an assessment of what the situation is in Ukraine right now and how it compares, for example, to a year ago?
Yes, it's a great question. Actually, a year ago, Congress was debating whether to send a big aid bill to Ukraine, and that was held up in the Congress for various reasons. At that time, there was a real ammunition shortage, and it was looking very dire. At this point, most experts think that Ukraine can manage for another couple of months without, if there was a pause in U.S. shipments. But after that, in the summer, it would get more difficult. But the intelligence pause is really, that's the thing that's really alarming, because Ukraine relies on U.S. intelligence for targeting of targets, both within Ukraine and in Russia, the longer range targets. And Ukraine also relies on Starlink satellite terminals as well. So on the one hand, the front lines actually have not really changed significantly since last year, actually since more than a year. Even though there's been a lot of fighting and a lot of casualties, the front lines are relatively stable. Russia has not made a lot of gains in the last year, although they are trying right now to gain as much territory as they can before a potential ceasefire.
And we were watching some video of that meeting that happened in the Oval Office. Now, of course, I've seen President Trump supporters have said he's just being a tough negotiator, and people applauded him for that. On the other side, people are worried that it's playing into Russia's hands, and then caught in the middle, the Ukrainian people.
Yes.
Have you heard from anyone? Or?
Yes. So it's very dispiriting to Ukrainians. I mean, one of the things about the pause in U.S. aid is that it would affect, and also the intelligence pause, it would affect missile defense. And why is missile defense necessary? Because Russia, I mean, every single day is sending drones and missiles into Ukraine, 180 drones and 4 missiles just yesterday. So every day Russia, and that's not just in the front lines areas, that's into the rest of Ukraine. So people are very, very worried. On the other hand, many people would love an end to the war. No one more than Ukrainians that are suffering with, having to leave their houses and go to bomb shelters and suffer in that way, or worse. So Ukrainians want an end to the war, of course, but they want to maintain their statehood, their sovereignty, and their nationhood, and they don't want to be under Russian control. And unfortunately, we've seen the atrocities under Russian control. So that's the worry there. So everybody would like peace. Everybody would like an end to the war. It's just a matter of how to get there.
Well, we'll continue to follow it as we watch for developments on a possible ceasefire. Very quickly, do you think there will be one? Do you think Zelensky will agree to that?
I think that President Trump is very determined to have some kind of ceasefire. I think Ukrainians are increasingly under pressure to accept some kind of ceasefire. So I think in some sense, I think it's likely. But the question is, what are the terms of it? And will it last? And will there be a political settlement that actually settles the conflict? And on that, unfortunately, there's been very little movement on the Russian side towards accepting anything less than their maximalist goals.
We'll continue to follow it closely, and we'll look forward to having you back very soon, Yoshiko. Thanks so much.
Thank
Good to
you.
see you.
You're welcome. Thank you.